Let me tell you something. I've never seen a driver gross less than $3,000 or $4,000 a week.
This motivation, suck, get on your job. If you hate, get on your job. You can look me in my eyes, see I'm ready for whatever. Anything don't kill me, make me better.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another episode of Likeable Figgas. I'm your boy Major Wala, and you know this channel is all about seeing people do better and be better. Today, in this episode, I got another guest talking about this trucking industry. Now, he's not on the logistics side of the trucking end. He's more dedicated in driving the truck, like actually getting the loads from state to state, wherever they gotta be. He in this part of the trucking business. I'm gonna let him introduce himself. Rod, holler at the people right quick, man.
What's going on, y'all? This is Rod, aka King Rod. We out here, man. We out here in the trenches, man. We out here. Driving. I'm a driver. You know, I'm also owner operator. You know, so been doing this for a minute now.
Straight up, man. So, but you drive trucks for yourself, correct? So that means you're an entrepreneur, right? You chose to do it, not work for a company. You work for yourself. So, with choosing that route, what would you say? What would be your definition of entrepreneurship?
I think you could almost call it a truckerpreneur. You know,
Yeah,
if we want to put a stamp on it.
I ain't never heard that. What'd you say, truckerpreneur?
You know, we good on coming up with our own terms out here. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But you know, a truckerpreneur can be someone who has figured out a niche within the trucking industry, have made it their own, and is also in a position to not only teach but advance in the trucking industry.
So what
Okay.
would you say inspired you to take the trucking route when you started your entrepreneurship journey? What guided you to the trucking route?
So, you know, people had this luxurious explanation, like I was standing outside, and you know, you
Yeah.
got the music in the background, and it was cold up. Nah, that ain't my
Dramatic.
story. Right. That ain't my story. But yeah, bottom line, I had 5 kids.
Yeah.
I was married at the time, and I was sitting there and I was like, man, what can I do to make some money? I had like a 6-month plan that I was looking at, and I was like, what can I do within 6 months to like change my whole trajectory? You know, at that time, I had worked in the nursing home field, wiping asses,
Yeah.
you know, doing all that type of work, giving medication. And you know, I had done customer service as a salesperson. I was just tired of it. I was like, what can I do to jump into the 6 figures? And I remember looking, saying, okay, I can't be a nurse. I don't want to be a nurse. That ain't what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I just kept going through all a list of things. And it was funny because during that time, I didn't, even when I was in college, we didn't have things for like carpentry and electronics, plumbing, and stuff like that.
Yeah. All the
And then
technical things. Like you have the access to that. That's true.
we had it. So I said, man, what am I gonna do, man? So I had a neighbor that was right up the street from me. And shout out to Stanley. And Stanley was a crazy ass dude, man. But one thing about it, him and his wife, they were trucking. And he didn't go around telling people what he made, but you know, he started to let me know, like, hey man, I'm telling you, you get your CDL, you can make 6 figures, like you can make that. So I'm like, all right, well, you know, he's like, but man, you got to get it. So you know, in this interview, I'll go through, if you want me to, on the struggles that it took to get there.
Yeah, we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into it.
But that was it, man.
That was
That's what
basically like got you into it. You making decision for the family. Like, hey, I gotta figure out something. As men, bro, you realize that a regular job just ain't gonna get it. For one, like you can work the job, but you're gonna have to put so much hours into with nothing to show for it. Like, if your kids say, hey, you done worked all 30 years at this job and you became the manager at the job, you say, Dad, give me a job. Give me a job. I want part of the company. Hey, if you just work there, you don't own it. So you can't do the hiring and firing at that company. But if you build it your own, no matter if it's small now, everything that you put energy into grows. So with the day-to-day in, putting the energy into it, it's going to grow. It's growing with your last name on it. So you control who get hired and fired within your business. Since you started your trucking business, how would you say your priorities changed from being an everyday employee to being an entrepreneur?
Oh man, tremendously. Because, you know, when you're out here and you're responsible for you, you know, I've seen a lot of people come into this industry and they have a worker's mentality. And I never understood how somebody could work for someone for 35 years and retire. You know, it's so much money that you had the ability to make in this industry that it doesn't make sense. But then I had to realize that anybody that's read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, one of the greatest revelations that Robert Kiyosaki had was, as a young man, was realizing that there are people that literally are just going to work. They're just going to be employees.
Yeah.
Right.
They're doing
That's
it for the benefits.
That's it. That's it. And so for me, it changed tremendously because I went from working for a company where, okay, my last company I ever drove for, I was hauling oil. They gave me a company car for food. You know, they paid me a lot of money. I didn't have to own the vehicle. I didn't care how much I ran. I didn't care how much I had to fill up. I just filled up. And we just had to turn in our expense sheet, you know what I mean? And they got it. Well, now when you become an entrepreneur, when you're getting ready to choose loads, you're thinking about how many dollars per mile, you know, is this going to pay? If it's not paying $2 and up, is it really worth it to take it? And then you're looking at your fuel prices and you're saying, okay, like right now I'm in Missouri, and I'm looking right at the sign because I'm parked at a Flying J, and it says that the diesel is $5.04 per mile. I mean $5.04
per gallon.
Per gallon. So you got to figure, okay, all right, well, where's my next destination? Is that destination that I'm going to, is their fuel cheaper? And if their fuel is cheaper, then I only need to get this much to get over here, and then I can fill myself up. It's all type of strategy and strategic thinking that you have to put in play, and it makes you better as a whole, as a person, because that begins to leak into your entire life, right?
Yeah, making that attention to detail, like I'm gonna waste money if I try to fill up at this tank when I can save money if I just can put enough to make it to this city where gas is a cheaper price, and then I fill up. You can save money. So being an entrepreneur, and all that depends on self. That depends on you to do. You don't have the company like you just said. Or I just go turn in my expense sheet and then they just allocate funds to make it happen. Now you are responsible for allocating those funds. Now, because entrepreneur it just ain't all fun and games. It's work. So don't think that you're going to become an entrepreneur and thinking that you can get out of having to work, because you're going to work more as an entrepreneur because it's going to be yours. It's going to be all yours. It's no one else's.
Let me say this. I've seen so many people in this game that they go into a business and they may have 1 truck, 4 trucks, 5 trucks, and they do it for like 20 years, right?
Yeah.
Because and you hear so many people say, man, I'm just gonna put people in this truck and voila, it's gonna. Man, let me tell you something. This industry is a hustle. This just someone would say, this the streets.
Yeah, for real. You know, dog eat dog.
And the other thing
same with every industry. Hey,
exactly.
The person who working the hardest, who making the most moves, though, that's the person that's going to elevate more. And you're going to see them. You're going to see the elevation if you're following that person. But just know, behind all the elevation that you see, just know it's a person that's working tirelessly to make that happen. You know?
And as a company worker, we had like the dispatchers would go in there and they would choose our loads for us. And then you become your own man. Now you're looking for how can I advance my literacy and understanding the shipper and negotiate my own contract with the shipper so I can bypass the broker, or how do I negotiate with a broker? So it's a brand new world. You know what I'm saying? You're dealing with all these different parts, and you're having to get up at 6 in the morning and look at the load board to make sure you get the best load, because you don't wake up and figure it out and then get another load the next day. You have to have strategical planning. You have to get out and look at, when we were drivers, regular drivers, they tell us go do a pre-trip, go check. That means go check the truck.
Yeah.
We ain't do that, man. If something went wrong, we just call the company. But when it's your truck,
you got to get out there and do it.
You're looking at tires, you're looking at cars, you're looking at, oh man, my paint ain't the same way it used to be on the truck. Man, you're looking at everything.
I heard one person that was in the truck say, it's two things that you can count on. You're going to die, and your truck, something going to go wrong with your truck.
That's right.
I heard someone say that, talk about the trucking thing, like, man, be prepared. There's something going to go wrong with that truck. So you got, and then if it's your truck, it's falling on you. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got no one to, hey, something wrong with y'all truck. Nah, it's your truck, so it's up to you to get that truck repaired, to get it back on the road, because that truck is your livelihood. All right, so how long would you say you've been doing trucking, like far as the entrepreneurship side of it?
So now we're going on about 4 years now.
Okay.
So we were company driver for 10. I mean, for about we've been driving for about 10 years, and 4 of those have been entrepreneurs. But go ahead, I'm sorry, man. What you say?
Yeah. No, you good. Well, since you started, when you look back at the beginning, what would you say you would have done different in the beginning when you look back on it?
So I gave this tip one of the Major and myself, and shout out to Jen. We have a show where we talk about entrepreneurship.
EOP.
EOP, holding it down.
Yeah.
Mama, I love you.
Mama, I love you.
But in that interview, I said this, and I stand by it. Man, if I could go back, when I first got in the truck, the first thing I would have did started an LLC S Corp. I'm gonna tell you why. Because from the day I started driving the truck, I started getting paid that next week immediately. It's always been weekly, right?
Yeah.
If you look at my climb now, when I first started, I'll never forget, I was used to getting paid bi-weekly. And man, listen, I had finessed my way into this Indeed job I saw. I walked through the door. I said, hey, look, man, I don't do drugs. I don't drink. There's no reason for you not to sign me.
Yeah.
You should hire me. He's like, yeah. I said, well, look, I don't have a lot of driving experience, but here's what I guarantee you. I will bust my ass every day, and I'll figure out how to get better. So he hired me. I was hired, and I realized real quickly this job was a job where people that had felonies and certain things against them, they had a chance to have a job.
Yeah.
So it gave them opportunity. It paid about $40,000. Okay. Starting off. You couldn't tell me nothing, man, because I came from a situation where I was making, I thought making $12 an hour was making some money. Okay. And getting some overtime. So I got my check weekly. From that day forward, from 35, I went from 35 to last year grossing $275,000. So let's just think about this. If I would have had the LLC, my business account, my bank business account would have reflected continuous growth every year. What does that mean? Y'all know Major be talking to y'all a lot about credit. That means that I would have been very competitive in the business credit market and probably could have had a fleet of trucks by this time.
Yeah.
So if I could change anything, that's one of the things I would change, because and to all you guys out there is looking to go into trucking, if you're working a regular job right now, go get an LLC. If you want to go further,
I try to tell y'all. You heard out another person's mouth. I'm telling you, because you're going to benefit from it. Because once you become a full-time entrepreneur, you have to create your revenue. You create your revenue, hitting that bank account every time it hit. You create it. But the good thing about being an employee, if you show up to work, those hours that they assign you to work, you're going to generate an income. Now that income can look like one of the two things. It can look like a regular income, the way it's looking now, that is getting deposited in your personal account, or you can go to that bank after you open up your LLC and open up a business bank account and have like 30% of your check going inside that account. Now, once it's going inside that account, it's no longer income anymore. Now it look like revenue. So with that money being piled up in that account, you building a relationship with that bank, a business relationship.
Another thing is you're gonna also protect your own credit history.
Exactly.
Instead of when you have, I remember when I went to I had my LLC and I had just got it, and the guy was like, "Well, I want to get your car, but your business has to be open for 2 years." So imagine if you go get it now. What's the conversation gonna be like 5 or 6 years? Even if you go get another job and you make more money, and you're just like, "Hey, I'm eventually gonna make that jump." Well, let me tell you what's gonna help you make that jump. Like I got a friend right now, and he works a regular job, and he's like, "Man, I want to jump over, but but what's gonna make the difference is that when you have that good business credit, you can turn around and say, "Hey, I'm gonna go find me a driver to get in the truck." You can go put down, get a truck, and have them driving in it just to see how it works out for you while you're working a regular job, right?
Yeah.
And then when you see how it's working out, then you can say, "Okay, I could do one of two things. I can continue to let this driver drive, and let him do his thing and rock and get another truck." You have a lot of options when it comes to credit if you do this right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you ain't got to worry about, oh, I can't afford to even put down on the truck. Bro, if you got credit, you got business credit, you can use the business credit to put down on to finance your truck. And you can finance your truck within your business name once you establish history. With this trucking industry and the way that you're doing it and the way that you're going about it, what would you say that you found it like? What is unique about the way that you're doing the trucking business, or what you see about it?
What's unique is, I listen, y'all gonna remember me saying this. Trucking is the streets. It really is. It's a game. It's a hustle. It's not necessarily about so much about politics as we know it. It's more about learning how to position yourself. Let me give you an example. Let's say you decide to do a lease to purchase. Okay. You say, "I'm gonna do a lease to purchase. I don't want to work for a company anymore. I want to lease." Some states kind of have banned that, but for the most part, it's still in effect. You go lease a truck. You can say, "I'm gonna lease this truck until I own it," right? Now, we just talked about having good credit. Did you know that there are loan companies that if you have 3 months of $6,000 to $8,000 to show gross, everybody pay attention to what I just said, gross, not net.
Yeah.
That means you got your stubs, gross wise, that you can get a loan for $25,000, $30,000. Right? So now, peak game. You over here with the lease to purchase company, you're doing your thing, you're rocking with them. You can say, "Hey man, I'm gonna ride this as long as I can and see if I can own this truck." But if I don't own this truck, I have a group of loaners that I've got enough history. I've got a year with now that I can say, "Hey, I've got a year showing proof that I've earned at least 60,000, 8,000." But you have to have a business account now. Can't do this with your personal account. Got to have a business account, which means you have to have an LLC. All right. So moving forward, now let's say it's 6 months. You're not making the money you wanted to make. It's not looking as promising as it was. Let me tell you something. I've never seen a driver gross less than $3,000 or $4,000 a week. Now you remember what I said to you. You have to have gross between $6,000 and $8,000. The average driver is going to gross anywhere between $4,000 to $5,000 if they're on the road. Okay. All right. So that means you'll have $20,000 in gross revenue to show to a loan company, right? Imagine they only need 6 to 8, By you showing them 20. Now let's just say out of that 5,000, you only took home 1,500. Who cares?
No,
You
it don't
gross,
matter.
you gross 5,000. Keep your head in the game. So now you get to those 6 months and you say, hey, up to this point, I have grossed between $17,000 to $20,000 a month. And they say, okay, we need the stubs. We need to look at your bank account. Don't get freaked out. If you didn't make as much as you wanted to make because expenses came out, they're looking at you as a business owner.
Exactly.
Right? They know you got to pay for that, the note on the truck. They know you got to pay for your permits. They know you got to pay all that stuff. So they're not tripping if you only took home $1,800 a week. So now in that 6 month period, guess what? That company turns around and says, well, we only needed 6 to 8, but I think we can offer you at least 45,000. Now you can go down to the lot, put 20 down, sit the other $25,000 in the account, let them pull that. And you can take that 20,000 down payment on the truck. Now you get full ownership. You can say, forget the lease to purchase, or you can go to the lease to purchase company and say, hey, I got a big bag. Now y'all want to do business or you want me to walk?
Yeah.
Right? Y'all get it? You see how I say this the streets?
Yeah.
You're hustling.
Yeah.
You're hustling.
Yeah, negotiating, goddamn making plays, like for real.
Hey, and the credit company is your plug. How about that? That's your plug.
I agree. I would tell any person, like, the things that you can do with a business, like LLC, EIN, and a business that established some history, man, you'll be surprised on how much access that gives you to dollars. It actually give you access to money. And the good thing about it don't crowd up your personal credit. You don't have all these big old loans sitting on your personal credit because it's under the EIN. Because once you get the LLC, they're gonna give you an EIN number that comes with it. So it's under that. And like you say, like he just said, bro, they expecting the business to have expenses. So they ain't worrying about how much you taking home. They worrying about, hey, what's that gross number? What is you making? You know what I'm saying? And that's what we're gonna use as the collateral to give you the loan. So if it was a person out there that's trying to get into this trucking industry and they just lost in the sauce right now, they haven't started, they just lost. Like, what advice can you give that person?
Number one, educate yourself.
Mentorships, I tell y'all that.
Educate yourself. Well, first thing I would do, let me tell y'all a true story about me. I went to trucking school in Indiana. And most people that went out there, they know what I'm saying when I say it, because there's only one place that really pushes. Terrible place. I ain't gonna dog them out right now. But it was just too many students over instructors. You don't get a chance to learn. If you made it through, man, congrats. If you didn't make it through, congrats, because it's hard. So I went through that school, didn't get enough training, left, was at home at the time, was married. And my ex-wife shook me one day because I was down about it. I was like, man, I came back with nothing to offer to take care of my family.
Yeah.
And she kind of shook me and was like, listen, this is what you need to do. Find somebody that owns a truck, ask them to teach you. Yeah. I don't care if you got to ride with them for a week with no pay. I don't care what it is. Have them show you what to do and tell them you'll drive for them, or tell them like you're trying to learn. And what I did was I ended up finding this guy. His name was Mr. Kimball out of Alabama.
Yeah. Shout out Mr. Kimball, wherever you at.
Mr. Kimball, yeah. You're a hero. You're a hero out here. And Mr. Kimball used to be a trucking school instructor. Okay. He had his own dump trucks on his property. And he said, look, I'll let you come here and you pay me, it was like $800. Pay me $800. I'm going to make sure you pass your pre-trip and make sure you pass your driving section. So I said, okay, cool, right? I said, cool. So that's what we did. He showed me literally what I had to do. I went and took all my tests, passed my test, and I went through the whole training with him. In 2 weeks, I had my CDL, right? My next thing I want to say to you is stop thinking too hard about it. You're thinking too much.
Yeah.
All the fears of, man, it's a big truck. Man, will I be able to do? Man, listen, It ain't that hard. It don't take rocket science.
You're gonna think yourself out of it. You're gonna
Don't
think
think rocket
yourself out of it. You go. It's gonna be so many reasons of not to do it till they're gonna convince you not to do it, or convince yourself to do it. Either road you go down, there's millions of reasons on both sides. It depends on which ones you listening to. Have that can-do mentality day for day. It's gonna be up days, it's gonna be down days. But if you do anything day for day, continuously in that time frame, guess what? You're gonna be a hell of a lot better than a person that haven't started or haven't done anything. And like, bro, that's what it all accounts to. How much time are you willing to educate yourself and to take steps forward? That's something you got to decide to do on yourself, though.
That's right.
When you first got into this business, how did you make your initial investment to get into it? Like, how did you start?
So my route was lease to purchase, you know,
Okay.
because I took the same route idea as credit. You know, they said no cash got to be put down on the vehicle. So I understood that the company was letting me rent their equipment and I could drive, and I was responsible for my own expenses. I was responsible for paying the tags, the permits, and all the stuff, and it was going to be deducted out. Again, you're still in business, right?
Okay.
Because if you weren't, then they would just owe you what you pay. You wouldn't have to pay a dispatching fee. You wouldn't have to pay all these different things that you would have to pay anyway. So that was the first way I jumped in, because I'm like, I don't have to put any money down. And I tell people all the time, if you understand the business for real, that would be what I would suggest to people, other people to do. Now, make sure it's a walk-away lease. I can't say that enough. Make sure it's a walk-away lease. If it's not a walk-away lease, you are stuck in it for life. They will put that credit bill of what's owed on that truck on you. You walk away, you will owe $100 and some $1,000. You have to make sure it is a walk-away lease. Companies will say it when you're in interviews with them. Say, hey, is it a walk-away lease? They say, yeah. Then you know you got one. That means you can walk away whenever you want.
Okay.
Right? It's very important.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a nice game to have. Walk away lease. Remember that. So
no credit down.
No credit down. So do you have any drivers right now driving for you at the moment, or have you ever tried it?
Yes, I have. All right, so man, this was kind of deep. So
now,
I started out like, man, I want that big fleet with like 20, 25 trucks, and I'm gonna get them drivers, and I'm gonna do better than everybody else. I'm gonna take care of these people. Then I had one driver who just changed my whole perspective. Thank God for him. Shout out to him. You know who he is. Shout out to him. I will never forget. I had taken the risk to go get this truck. He was in the truck with me. And I told him, I said, man, I'm going to make sure you make most of the money. He was worried about a percentage. And I kept telling him, look, man, I got to see how this is going to all work out before I just promise you anything. I don't want to promise you something I can't keep.
Yeah.
So I had already discussed with him the inner workings. I said, look, a percentage is going towards my business so that when we gain a certain amount of money, I'm going to put you in a rental truck and let you stay home with your family, because at the time he had a child that was on the way. So my intentions were to make sure that he had a vehicle that he could move around in and make money and locally, and we'd be good. Well, the argument came where he said, I feel like I should make 50% of the check. And I stated to him, how can you make 50% if you're not a business partner? Are you saying you want to be 50-50 partner? If you're saying that, then we can split all the expenses down the middle. Absolutely. He's like, no, I don't want to split the expenses. So then I learned that this employment thing is a little bit more intricate and a little bit more different than you think. And so what I said was, let me stop that. Let me step back and look at all the avenues I can run into that can easily accumulate for me money. And then I can go back and get that fleet, because if drivers don't decide to show up, I'm still going to get paid. Yeah. Let me give you an example of what I mean by that. Everything from truck parking to starting a truck mobile repair business, tire business, to dispatching, to becoming a broker. Those were the things that I started thinking about. And I said, if I master these things, these opportunities, if I have a top mobile tire business, if I have a brokerage firm, if I have parking spaces, then I not only have the proof of revenue to get the trucks, but if I start off with 5 trucks and only 2 drivers are driving, I'm not sitting there like, man, I got to go out of business.
Yeah.
So I had to switch my trajectory because drivers come and go. I don't care how nice you are to them. I don't care how much you smiled at them. I don't care how much money you get them. They're going to want more money.
Yeah.
Okay. There are some, but that's not all of them. So you have to spend time weeding out turnover, and then eventually
to find a good one.
Find the good ones. So would you rather have 10 or 12 trucks and you got to wrestle with keeping drivers in the truck every day? Or would you rather already have 7 figures and now when you go get those 20 trucks, that's just the extra bread and butter,
Yeah.
And the cost of trucks. So now you don't have to worry about, can I repair this truck? Okay, can I do it? You're not in a hole.
Yeah.
You're not in a hole. You're in your own island and peninsula. That sounds better, right?
Straight up. So with you being in the trucking industry, and you've been having ups and downs and, good days, bad days, but success. Everyone wants success. Everyone's doing it for the success. What would you say success means to you?
All right. So what I would say to the question that you asked me is this. I think success is more of a thing that's relative to what your goal is. It's reaching your goal. See, we make success about, and this is where we miss some people. Some people don't want to be a millionaire. Some people don't want to be a billionaire.
Yeah.
Some people don't want to take over the entire trucking industry, So for some people, it could simply just be, hey, I want to make 6 figures. Now that's not mine, but I'm just giving an example. So for me, whatever your goal is, it's you putting it down on paper, looking at it, every day perfecting what it takes to get to that goal, of making it happen. The only failures are those who quit.
Yep. I believe in that.
The idea that you're going to come into any industry and poof, the magic dragon, not puff, but poof, the magic dragon, like it's just going to happen and everything going to fall out the sky. Let me tell you, you are sadly mistaken. It's grit, it's grind. I've lost everything before. I've had everything. I've had accounts that were full to the brim where I could go drop money like nothing. I've had accounts where I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to use this fuel card to go get me a chicken sandwich. Yeah. Listen, let me tell you, you go through it all. And if you ain't going through it all, you must have somebody giving you a silver spoon. So it takes guts, it takes determination. You have people telling you, I don't think that's it for you. I think you need to quit. I don't know if it's gonna work out for you. But you have to figure out what your goal is. Go after it. You gotta go after it. That's it.
I believe in that because you're gonna always have those negative Nancy's that try to provoke their fears onto you. Are you sure that's gonna work? You're gonna have those people, and that's not saying that they don't love you or anything like that.
Right.
They're just saying that their fears, basically of the unknown, of not knowing, their fears is consuming them, and they're like exposing it and just pouring it on you. But you got to have that determination to say, hey, I decided to do this. I wasn't forced to do it. I decided to do it. I decided to be an entrepreneur. I decided to start this business. So go through the roller coaster ride of it, just like being at the beach. If you're standing on the shore, hey, sometimes the water go out, sometimes it come in. Sometimes it's low tide, sometimes it's high tide. And that's how the world's, the life, business, everything is. You got to take the good with the bad and stay and try to become the same person. Never get too high, never get too low. Be that cool medium in the middle, because if you experience something, you go way high. Just know if you experience that highness, it's the opposite to it. So if you're able to get that high, just know it's the opposite that you're going to have to experience, because you only can get that high if you know how the opposite feels. So once you're feeling that down, I always remember that, hey, a month ago, 2 weeks ago, a year ago, I was high, So now you're experiencing the low, but
let me say this. you're either the conductor of the roller coaster, you're either riding the roller coaster, or you're either Walt Disney.
Yeah.
You got to decide which one you're gonna be. But guess what? Every last one of them causes for you have ups and downs.
Every last one.
If you're the conductor, you ain't gonna make that much money, and that's your up and down.
Yeah.
You ain't making enough money. You just listen. You know, you that person who give game to everybody else on how to go on life's roller coaster, and they should ride along, but you ain't never took a ride yourself, right?
Yeah.
Or you're the person that you're on that roller coaster, and you're on a roller coaster so long that when you have an opportunity to be Walt Disney or to be at your high, you're just used to the motion coming. You're just waiting for the motion to come.
Yeah.
So there's no happy medium for you, and there's no stop and go. There's just, okay, here it comes. Let me be ready. Here it comes. Let me be ready. Like, I don't know about anybody else. I won't be Walt Disney. I'll be the person that's over there saying, hey, look, I've been the conductor. Hey, look, I've been the person on the outside paying for the ticket to get in.
Yeah.
I done been the conductor.
I know how the
I've
whole
been the person on
thing
the
works.
roller coaster, and I've been about this. Yeah.
For real. Hey, I believe that. For real, man, because don't jump into business or jump into entrepreneurship to say that looked like it was easy, so I want to do that. You hear people come on all the time, be a millionaire in 2 weeks. Man, if it was that easy, you're not going to appreciate it because you're going to feel like you can just do it again. In this journey, that your whole entire journey, just adulthood, period. Being an employee, entrepreneur, husband, father. Like, man, what would you say that you enjoyed the most for your journey in this thing we call life, man?
I appreciate the hard times, man.
Now,
Yeah, I appreciate the hard times because
age is better.
we always say diamonds are not produced without fire.
Yeah.
Everything that's worth something has got to go through something. Start realizing that there's no such thing again as failure unless you quit, right? So learn lessons are just that. They're learn lessons.
Yeah.
Stop attaching the word to yourself as a loser or you're, you know, man, I F everything up or this and that. Like, stop attaching that stuff to yourself. Like, realize, like, life is full of lessons. There's learned lessons, and there's the act of gaining as a result of learning those lessons. And that's the way life is. If you can look at it through that lens, then when the tough times come again later on, you'll realize it's a part of life. I mean, just like we have sunshine, we also have rain. We also have snow. We also have tornadoes, hurricanes. It's all a process. It's all
you need it all. If it's that person out there that's on the edge and they not even say trucking, just they tiptoeing on the edge of being an entrepreneur. They want to do it, but they scared or whatever's holding them back. Something's holding them back. To that person, what would you say to that person to get them to just take that jump?
You were born an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs feel it first. They don't think it. They don't think it second.
Yeah.
They feel it first. So
feel it first.
Yeah, I promise you, there's a lot of folks that ain't thinking about being an entrepreneur at all. They're just like, yo, I'm out here, I'm doing my thing. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, you'll start talking about being. You ever notice yourself talking about, man, you know, we need ownership. You find yourself talking about ownership. And I want to have my own. And, you know, you're that person that you're the. Let me define that person for a second. You're that person that's on that job. You get into it with every boss you go to because you're looking at how they're running the operation and you're saying, this ain't gonna work. They paying this person to do this, man. And you're looking and you see all the gaps, all the holes, all the things that need to be fixed. And you wonder, you're like, man, I'm low. Exactly. You're like, I'm low-key becoming a nagger. It's not that you low-key becoming a nagger, it's that you can do the same thing for yourself. And that's what's happening is deep on the inside. You're looking at what's going on and you're like, hey, man, why is it that all the managers that are getting hired, why are all the people that's getting hired, why are these people that's getting hired people that aren't qualified? I want you to understand that it's inside of you and God gave it to you and you have it there for a reason. And so you need to act on it. It's just that simple.
If you don't use your gifts, you lose your gifts. And one thing about humans, the human being experience that we are experiencing right now, the one good thing about it, that no human being touches the earth soil without having the gift that came with them. Your gift don't have to be oh, the best basketball player, or the best football player, sports, or I can sing, or I can rap. Those are that don't have to be your gift all the time. Some people might be great problem solvers. Some people might have great etiquette skills, know how to speak. Some people know how to or have great organizational skills, like you very organized. Not every person has to be a number one. You can go team up with a person that is a number one. If you a number two, you can go team up with a person that's a number one and be the best number two to that number one. And because the things that you don't know how to do, they may know how to do it. Or the things that like you know how to do, they don't know how to do it. It's just about finding your role and play the role that you in, because once you find it, I guarantee if you use your gift right, it's going to bring you the presence. It's going to bring you the presence of that gift. One thing about it, you can't be scared to invest dollars in yourself. Like, it's so many mentorships that I've paid for and been a part of. Some are good, some are great, and some of them just wasn't that good. But I got something for me. I did it because I wanted to invest in myself. Just say if you pay $3,000 or $5,000 for a mentorship, but the information that's inside it can create you hundreds of thousands and feed your family for a whole lineage of time. Bro, it was well worth the money that you invested in yourself.
In other words, you showed me a student, I showed you a successful person in the making.
Yeah, for real. That man, listen, we talked about a lot in this episode for us giving a lot of game in the trucking industry. Man, listen, this a guy, like, he's on TikTok, Instagram.
TikTok and Instagram, you can find me.
If you want to learn more or have a question for him or anything like that, hit his inbox up.
Absolutely.
So this has been another episode of Likeable Figgas. You know, I'm Major Wala. This is my homeboy, King Rod.
Yes,
I appreciate you for coming on here with me tonight. Man, this man is in his truck in the middle of Missouri, man. Like, for his boy, like, I appreciate it. I sure enough appreciate it, dog. This channel is all about seeing the audience do better and being better. If you get a second, hit the subscribe button. I put out weekly content, putting you on game on how you can repair your credit and how you can flip the credit into green dollars. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I'm your boy, Major Wala, and peace.